Hi, Andrew from SACS. Are you measuring cognitive ability when you're hiring people? If not, you should seriously consider it. Years of research has demonstrated that cognitive ability, aptitudes, intelligence, IQ, whatever you want to call it, predicts with about 25% accuracy whether somebody is likely to succeed or fail at work. Now, 25% is really good for a single measure. The absolute best interviews ever constructed have really never got beyond 25% accuracy. So what does cognitive ability give you? It really gives you four things. Firstly, it gives you speed. If a person is smart, they can get stuff done more quickly. Second, it gives you problem-solving power. Higher IQ, higher cognitive ability causes people to solve problems that people with lower cognitive ability can't do so well and certainly can't do so quickly. Third, it gives you trainability. Trainability is the capacity to learn things from scratch, to learn new things. And finally, people with higher cognitive ability tend to do less bad stuff. I know people sometimes think the opposite, but the smarter people tend to do less bullying, harassment, theft, those kinds of things. So cognitive ability is a good predictor of good things like productivity, but also of bad things like negative behaviours. There are three forms of cognitive ability that are typically heavily used in the work world: verbal, numerical, and abstract. Verbal is about words, and of course many organisations test verbal reasoning because think of a job which doesn't need to communicate. It's pretty rare. On the other hand, numbers may not be so important for every job. The third component, abstract reasoning, is really the capacity to see how things link together. And so when people have high abstract reasoning, they're able to see the links between things, but they're also likely to see the implications of their actions. And of course, that applies very widely. Some key points about verbal reasoning. You often find that extroverts are held to be higher in verbal reasoning than they actually are. And the reason for that is that when we interview extroverts, they're kind of more confident, they're more glib, they can find their words more easily because they are confident. But verbal reasoning is not about confidence. Verbal reasoning is about the capacity to express complex ideas really simply. And so if people can do that, they will tend to have high verbal reasoning. Verbal reasoning is often a glass ceiling ability, and what we mean by that is that when people rise up levels of seniority in an organisation, it's sometimes their verbal reasoning that holds them back, because of course as you rise up an organisation you may have to express abstract ideas like corporate culture or our business strategy, and if you don't have high enough levels of verbal reasoning, that may cap you in the capacity that you have to rise up levels of seniority. This is a typical result from a cognitive ability point of view. You see, we're measuring verbal reasoning here and we color code the results. This person's results indicate that their score is below average. And you'll see that these things can be normed against different groups. Professional population is what this person's normed against, and that means people with degrees or people in leadership roles, professionals. And you'll see that the scores are expressed as a percentile. And so this score is at the 17th percentile, and what that means is that that score's higher than 17% of anybody who's ever completed this instrument in the past. And of course that's not very high. 50 is in the middle of the population, so that would be average or a median. Numerical reasoning measures the capacity to deal with numbers, of course, and numerical reasoning can surprise people because you'll find people who are in numeracy type roles like accounting sometimes have very weak scores in numerical reasoning. Why? Well, computers do all the calculations these days, don't they? What that really does though is if a person has low levels of numerical reasoning, they may not be great at interpreting data rather than just reporting it. And as you've seen plenty of times, I imagine, some people can just look through a table of numbers, a spreadsheet or whatever and go straight to the heart of the matter, and other people have to kind of concentrate on every line to distill meaning from it. So you see that this individual is around about population average, although at the lower end for numerical reasoning. And then abstract reasoning. And that's really about, can the person see what's coming? Can they see the implications of their action? Can they interpret and forecast the probability of potential outcomes? So you'll see that this person's quite high on abstract reasoning, normed against a professional population, and a score at the 79th percentile. So those are interesting results for that person and give you some confidence that their capacity to see implications will be quite strong. So cognitive ability is very important in predicting whether somebody's likely to succeed or fail at work. We find some organisations believe that cognitive ability assessment should apply only to the most senior levels in their organisation. I don't agree with that at all, because we know that Cognitive ability predicts performance even in relatively junior roles, but there's also the question of whether what you're trying to hire is a safe pair of hands, somebody who can do the job that's in front of them right now, or a leader of the future. And a leader of the future will have to have the capacity to grow within the organisation. Cognitive ability is a really good indicator of growth. Click on the links near this video to find out more.